Welcome to the Dragon Table. Today I'm going to teach you how to play Roll Player. This is a game in which you use dice to create an RPG character. Using actions from your character sheet and skills on cards, you manipulate the dice in order to maximize your character's attributes and backstory. Let's start by setting it up. First, roll a die to decide who the start player is. Then, in turn order, choose a character sheet: halfling, elf, orc, dragonkin, dwarf, or human. The first two players each get 5 gold. The third player gets 6 gold, and the fourth player gets 7 gold. Each player also gets a play sequence card. Each player draws a die from the bag and then takes the class card of that color. The class cards have 2 sides. For purple, you can either choose Bard or Monk. Each has a slightly different ability. The Monk helps you take more attribute actions by manipulating the market, and the Bard lets you use your charisma to buy additional cards in the market. These cards will also determine your goals for your different attributes: strength, dexterity, constitution, intellect, wisdom, and charisma. If you draw a gold die or a color that's already been drawn, put it back and pull another color instead. Then deal 1 backstory card and 1 alignment card to each player. Players will then take the tracking cubes of their color and place 1 on their alignment card in the center and 1 on their class card. Here are some examples of backstory cards. Each one has flavor text, and they also are going to have different patterns of dice color that you're going to want to try and put in your character sheet. But there's Mentor, Chosen One, Hunter, Devoted, Savage, and so forth. Here's some examples of some alignment cards. Each alignment card has good, lawful, evil, and chaotic around the outside edges, with neutral being the middle. And depending on which alignment you get, your goal is going to be different. For instance, a guardian wants to be good and lawful, so you're going to get the most points if your tracker ends up here. As opposed to a scoundrel, who's evil, neutral, you'd want to end up in the middle here. But they're all different. You always start in the center, and there are different things in the game that are going to let you move your token around in order to end up in different spaces. Obviously, the Sentinel wants to be good, lawful, so if you end up in the chaotic evil area, you get negative points. Now we're going to set up the market. First, you're going to divide the market into 2 piles. The first pile will have a single dot under this number. The other pile is going to have 2 dots under this number. So make 2 piles, one with 1 dot and one with 2 dots. Shuffle them separately and place the 2 dot pile down first and the 1 dot pile on top of that. Now you create the market by drawing cards equal to the number of players plus 1. Let's pretend this is a 3-player game, so we would draw 4 cards. The market cards are going to be placed more in the center of your table. I'm just showing them close so that they'll all fit on the camera screen. Now you're going to place the initiative cards near the market. For a 2-player game, use cards 1 through 3 only. For a 3-player game, add the 4 card, and for a 4-player game, add the 5 card. So this is a 3-player game, so we'll use cards 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then place 1 gold on each card that is neither the first nor the last. In this instance, we put 1 gold on the number 2 and 1 gold on the number 3. Then, beginning with the first player, draw dice from the bag equal to the number of players plus 4. So in a 3-player game, we're going to draw 7 dice. For each gold die drawn, take 2 gold. Each player then rolls their dice and arranges them on their character sheet. They must follow the following rules. Dice must be placed in the leftmost empty space of the attribute row. Attribute actions are not taken during setup. And for every attribute row that is filled with 3 dice, gain 1 gold. Since one of the things you're trying to do is get these colors in certain spaces, you might look at what color dice you could put there. For instance, the craftsman would like to have 1 die in this white die in this first spot, so maybe we'll put the 1 white die there. And the highest points for the class are going to need to be charisma, intellect, and dexterity. So maybe you'll try and put the higher points there. So we could do maybe a 6 here and a 5 here. That way we put a red, and I've put it in the leftmost space. And then you just fill out where you think, where these will work the best. Once everyone has completed that phase, you're ready to play the game. The first phase is the roll phase. The starting player draws dice equal to the number of initiative cards on the table and rolls them. So in this case, 4 dice. Then the dice are placed on the initiative cards in numerical order. In the case of a tie, the start player chooses which cards the dice are placed on. So they'll go out in the following order. Now we move on to the dice phase. Beginning with the start player and going clockwise, each player chooses an initiative card and places it and the die in front of them. If there's any gold on the card, the player takes that as well. Then each player places their die onto the leftmost empty space of any attribute row of their choice. If this action fills a row, you take a gold. If the player has chosen a gold die, they take 2 gold. Then the player may take the action associated with the attribute row in which they place their die. This action is optional. They may use this action on the die that was just placed. You may only take 1 attribute action per turn. So here's what the different attribute actions do. If I were to place this die here in the strength row, I could then take 1 die and flip it to its opposite side. For instance, I could turn this 2 into a 5. If instead I place it in dexterity, that would allow me to swap dice. So I could do that. If I were to place this die in constitution, then it would allow me to increase or decrease one of my dice by 1 pip. So I could take this up to a 6. Alternatively, I could take this down to a 2. If this is placed in intellect, then I'm allowed to re-roll a die. And then I can choose if I want to keep that value or if I want to use the old value. If the die is placed in the wisdom attribute, then you can move your tracker on your alignment card by 1, either up, down, left, or right, not diagonal. If you place it in the charisma attribute row, you get 1 charisma token. You can use that charisma token on that turn only as a gold when buying from the market. Once everyone has placed their die, it is then the market phase. Each player may purchase 1 card from the market in initiative order. So 3 of these cards will have gone out, and you'll go in order of whichever cards are out. Let's say the 2 and the 4 are out. Then the order would be this player, and then that player in order to buy a card from the market. You pay the cost in the upper right corner. For instance, this is 1, that one's 3, 3, and 4. And then you put the card into your play area. So let's say that our bard here would like to buy Cure Wounds. They use the charisma token that works as 1 gold and 2 gold from their supply and pay it to get the skill Cure Wounds. That then will be placed on the skills area of your character sheet. Cure Wounds allows you to increase the face value of 1 die of your class color on your character sheet by 1. When you do so, you have to move your alignment tracker token up by 1. That's what the little arrow means. Cards are not replaced until the end of the market phase. The weapon cards have either 1 or 2 hand symbols on them. You cannot equip more than 2 hand symbols in weapons. So either 2 one-handed weapons or 1 two-handed weapon. If your hands are full but you want to take a new weapon, you can discard one of your old ones. If you buy a trait card, you must immediately move the tracker token on your alignment card in the direction indicated by the cost, in this case, 1 to the right. If you buy a skill card like this, you can use it immediately, but you can only use it if you can move your alignment token. In this case, this person cannot move their alignment token any farther forward, so they can't use this card on this turn. If you use the card, let's say that they could, turn it sideways, to exhaust it. It then cannot be used again until it is refreshed. If the current player chooses not to buy a card, then they choose a card from the market to discard. Then they gain 2 gold. Once everyone has either purchased or discarded a market card, then we move on to the cleanup phase. You discard any unused charisma tokens, and you can refresh 1 skill card. You return extra dice to the bag, discard the remaining market cards, and draw a new set for the next round. Return the initiative cards and place gold on them. The start player then passes the dice bag to the player on their left, who then becomes the start player for the next round. The game ends at the end of the round in which everyone has filled all of their attribute rows. For final scoring, flip over your play sequence card and use a token from your class card to keep score. Reminders for how scoring works are located at the bottom right of your character sheet. First, you're going to score any attribute goals. These are located on your class card. The Bard's goal for strength was 14 or more. That's indicated by this number of 14 plus. He has that, so he would get 1 star or point. Dexterity 17, and he did not get that. He only has 13 points, so no stars. Constitution 14 plus, definitely didn't get that, so no stars there. Intellect of 16 to 17, he has 16 in intellect, so that would be 2 points. Wisdom should be 14 or more, which he has 14, that gives him 1 point. Charisma is supposed to be 18 exactly, which is what he has. 3 sixes is 18 exactly, so he'd get 4 stars. There are some cards that can add or subtract value from the dice in your attribute rows, so make sure you keep that in mind when you're doing the scoring, because it will affect whether you hit your goals or not on your class card. Then count the number of dice you have in your class color. In this case, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you get that many points. 2, 3, 4. Now look at your alignment card. Take your tracker token off and look at the number underneath. In this case, 3. But you could just as easily had none or -1. Some cards have 3, but they also have 1. So each card is different. Now we'll look at the backstory card. This is looking at where you've placed different color dice. We want white, blue, green, black, pink, red. White, blue, green, black, purple, red. So he has 6 matches. That means he gets 6 points. If you'd only matched 1 row, or if you only match 1 row, you don't get any points. If you match 2 or 3 rows, you get 1 point. And if you match 4 to 5 rows, you get 3 points. Now we'll look at armor cards. Any player can equip any piece of armor, but there are bonuses for certain sets. The leather set is a bonus if it's worn by a purple or a black class. And you score by how many you have in the set. In this case, 2 pieces of armor would be 3 points. Plus, because this is a purple class, you get 1 bonus point for a total of 4. And then finally, you'll look at trait cards. I'm going to pick their trait cards up so we can see them closer. With the famous card, during final scoring, you double the effect of your alignment card. That means they get 3 more points. Compassionate. Gain 2 stars if your character sheet has dice of all 7 possible colors, which they do. So that would be another 2 points. Steadfast. Gain 2 points for each weapon card you have. They have 1 weapon card, so that'd be 2 more points. So that'd be a total of 9 points gained from these particular trait cards. And whoever has the most points wins. If there is a tie, the player with the most gold wins. If there is still a tie, the player with the fewest number of dice in their class color wins. So that is how you play Roll Player. There is also a solitaire version that actually works really well. I'm not going to go over it in this video though. Thanks for visiting the Dragon Table. I'll see you next time.